I'm back! Now, since I last spoke to you, the whole world seems to have gone wrong, but fear not, I am here precisely to make no difference to it whatsoever with my inane drivel. So I'm going to start with Mark Knopfler. He is, after all, the main subject of these ramblings. Now, about a month and a half ago, we're now in mid-October, so somewhere around early August, the second volume of Mark Knopfler's studio albums box sets was announced. The first box set covered all of his solo albums from Golden Heart, released in 1996, up to and including Culture Get Crimson, released in 2007. Now, that box set was quite interesting in as much as it contained the first vinyl pressings of Golden Heart and his second solo album, Saint Philadelphia. Also, the fact that it contained albums such as The Replic's Dream and Shangri-La, which were only really pressed in limited numbers, made for quite an exciting release. Now, of course, in the years since then, vinyl has become increasingly popular. It's had quite a big resurgence, and its sales numbers are as big as they've been in 25, 30 years. And so obviously more vinyl copies are being produced, therefore it's more likely that fans are already going to have copies of albums that have been released since Culture Get Crimson in 2007. Nevertheless, they announced the second box set. I suppose the first box set would have seemed incomplete without releasing a second volume to bring the albums up to date. And at first I said, no, it's too expensive. This is my line in the sand. I'm not going to give in. So here then is the second volume of Mark Knopfler's studio albums, which was released just a few days ago. I just can't help myself. I'm sorry. Anyway, so this set takes us up from Get Lucky, released in 2009, up to and including Mark's newest album, Down the Road Forever, released in November 2018. Now, what makes this box set a little more interesting is the fact that you've got a couple of not new songs, you've got a couple of previously unreleased songs on here. One is called Back in the Day, the other is called Precious Voice from Heaven, both of which are outtakes from the Down the Road Forever sessions. And they are included on a bonus tracks LP, which is included as an extra album in this set. Of course, Mark has actually released quite a lot more outtakes with his various editions of studio albums since 2007, because with the demise of singles, we've had instead deluxe editions of albums which have included bonus tracks, and in some ways that's turned out to be a good thing, because we now actually get more outtakes released than we used to when all we had was B-sides. So it's actually really too much to fit on one LP. So what they've done with this set is, if I can just get lucky out here, with this one they've included the various outtakes on side D. So the album itself ends with Piper to the End, but all of the outtakes that Get Lucky produced have been included on side D. And this is a new presentation of Get Lucky. It's a gatefold. All of the albums included the gatefolds, unlike the first volume of the studio albums box set, where most of the albums were just included as single slipcases. So that's Get Lucky. And then we have, put this one down here. Then we have Privateering. Now, Privateering was originally a double album to begin with. Again, it's a new presentation. And we have some lovely guitar photos on the inside cover there. I should also say that all the albums have been included in polylined sleeves, so that protects them nicely. They haven't just included them in cardboard sleeves that scratch the records every time you take them out. So that is a good thing. And then we have a remarkable album, Tracker. Massive amount of attention to detail went into creating this album. A lot of love and care went into it. It's an astonishing album, and the production on this is absolutely second to none. It is with all of Mark's albums, but this one particularly. I think it's an extraordinary album. All these albums have been remastered by Bob Ludwig, legendary mastering engineer. And then we have Mark's newest album there, Down the Road Forever, from 2018. And once again, we've got some, as with all the albums, we've got some outtakes included on the end of the album there. Sky and Water, Don't Suck Me In, Every Heart in the Room. And then finally we have the bonus tracks, which they didn't have room to include on the albums themselves. And this is the set that includes Precious Voice from Heaven and Back in the Day. So that's all very nice. In terms of presentation, the second volume is similar to the first volume in as much as you have this sort of sky backdrop, but the difference is with volume 1 you had this sort of blue skies, fluffy clouds design, whereas with the second volume it's a sort of a dusk backdrop, a sort of a red sky at night, shepherd's delight kind of design, which is very nice to look at. My only problem with it is that once again Mark's name is nicely indented into the cover there, but it's not highlighted in any way, so you can't really see it except in certain lights, which I personally think is a bit daft, really. I mean, you'd think that Mark's name should be highlighted, really, considering that it is a Mark Knopfler box set. But still, generally, the presentation is very nice. And once again, as was the case with Volume 1, it comes with these litho prints of the album covers. So there's Get Lucky from 2009, there's Privateering from 2012, there's Tracker from 2015. Again, Mark's name is in raised lettering at the bottom of these posters. There is Down the Road Forever from 2018, and lastly there is the bonus tracks compilation, which has been subtitled Back in the Day, which shares its cover art with the main box set. So very much in keeping with the first box set. Now, there were a few issues with Volume 1 in terms of quality. Now, quite a lot of fans have commented on this. One of the inherent issues is that Mark and Dire Straits' new vinyl releases are currently being pressed at the plant in the Czech Republic, which is renowned for shoddy workmanship, frankly. Now, the first set, in my particular case, was acceptable. It was not perfect, but it was not. I didn't have any problems with it that warranted sending the thing back. For all I knew, I could have ended up sending it back and getting a copy that was worse. Now, since I made my unboxing video of Volume 1, I have discovered that there is an annoying clicking sound at the beginning of Bologna Again on Sailing to Philadelphia. So that's side 2 of that album. There is quite a nasty crackle at the end of Postcards from Paraguay on side C of Shangri-La. Other than that, I mean, most of the records sounded absolutely fine, But it's just annoying when you spend quite a lot of money on these things and you come across these little errors, which it just takes the sheen off things a little bit. Now, since then, we've had a Dire Straits reissue of the Money for Nothing compilation. That was, in terms of the way it was organised, a bit of a cock-up, to be completely frank, because they used some of the wrong master tapes, I think, to put the track listing together. For instance, they put the wrong version of Telegraph Road on there. They put a studio version on there, which never should have seen the light of day. It's supposed to be a live version. Instead, it's a studio outtake, which was kind of incomplete. They put the wrong version of Twisted by the Pool on there, but this is not the fault of the pressing plant. This was the fault of whoever was responsible for the process of putting the tracks together. But the quality of it was absolutely fine. And Volume 2 here, I've been through all the records. I can't detect any major issues thus far, except for there being a bit of dust on one of the discs down the road or wherever, which is not a major problem. It can just be blown away, brushed off or whatever. So far, touch wood, this set seems to be of a better quality. Although I would be interested to hear from other fans who have bought this box set if they've had any issues with it, because, like I say, the pressing plant in the Czech Republic has been known for making errors or a degree of shoddy workmanship with the pressing of their records. One interesting aspect of Volume 2 is that, unlike the first volume, the records were mastered by Bob Ludwig, who is legendary in the field of mastering engineers. Volume 1 was remastered by Miles Showell. So I don't know whether he wasn't available or something. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but in either case, the quality of Mark's albums is so high to begin with. I actually find it difficult to see how these remasters are going to be better than the original releases, because there's so much attention to detail goes into the making of the albums in the first place, that not a great deal of work really needs to be done to improve them. But nonetheless, I'm very much looking forward to spinning these records and seeing how they sound. Particularly in my case, I'm pleased to get another copy of a vinyl edition of Down the Road Forever, because I did accidentally scratch my original copy when I brushed it off, and I drew a piece of grit across one of the sides, which was pretty careless on my part. But it's well presented, and I'm sure it's going to sound beautiful. And I have to admit, I haven't actually heard Precious Voice from Heaven yet, but I heard extremely good things about it. I've heard Back in the Day, which is a sort of a bluesy track with a jazz element to it. It would not have been out of place on Down the Road Forever. There are a few tracks on that album that are of that sort of nature. I love it. I think it's good fun. Quite a slow track. It's nearly 6 minutes long, but I think it's fun. I really enjoy that song. I've heard a little clip of Precious Voice from Heaven, and from what I've heard of it, it sounds beautiful, but I'm looking forward to hearing the whole song. So, what's next? We're currently in October 2022. Mark has been working on a new record for quite some time. Earlier this year, he had a 4-week band session with his regular lineup, his touring lineup, and hopefully we'll get Mark's next album in 2023. I would guess around March, April next year. Although I suppose it could be later than that, because it might be delayed by work on the Local Hero musical, which I'm going to see this time next week, Friday 21st of October. I've been really looking forward to seeing that. Mark's written a batch of new songs for it. I think there are about 24, 25 songs in the musical itself, and I'm sure it's all going to be wonderful. And I've been waiting 2 years to see this. I had tickets to go and see the show at the Old Vic in 2020, Of course, the show ended up being cancelled because of the lockdowns. And 2 years later, I was absolutely delighted to find that the musical has been relocated to Chichester, which is relatively local to me. So I'm going to see a matinee performance there on the 21st, and I will report back on that. I'll do a video review and a written review of that show. And we might even get a soundtrack album for that musical as well. Who knows? So I'm not sure what the schedule is on that, whether we'll get Mark's new album first or a Local Hero musical soundtrack album first. But in either case, much to look forward to, and I hope to be making more videos for you soon.